Incate, 4F. It was awful. We were all crying, and then I went home crying. And my grandfather, who was such a quiet man, I hardly ever knew my grandfather was around. He used to make the nistamal and do the masa, grind the masa for my grandmother. He saw me crying. He says, ¿Qué tienes? And I said, el padre me dijo, no va a ser mi confirmación. ¿Por qué? Dijo que era 4F. Dice, ¿qué es eso? He called my Aunt Dolores to explain what a 4F was. If my Aunt Dolores told him what it was. So then he says, pues, ¿por qué te dijo eso? And then he said, Dolores, le dijo a mi abuelita, cuando venga el padre por su comida, dile que quiero hablar con él. So he was always a quiet person, so I was so amazed that he would talk to the priest and say, ¿por qué no va a ser la confirmación mi nieta? And then, porque es 4F. Dijo, oh, no. Dijo, mire, aquí está el catequismo. Se lo dio. And then he called my Aunt Dolores to ask me every question in the catechism book, and I answered every question right. And he says, ahí está. Todas las palabras que le enseñaron, todas las cuestiones y todo ya lo sabe. And then he said, okay, ya no eres 4F.
Pues, ¿qué era 4F?
4F was when, you went into the service and you didn't qualify because you had some kind of a thing that you couldn't go into the service. That was a 4F. And that was during the war when he said everybody was crying 4Fs, and then, está bueno, ya no son 4Fs. I mean, he was a character, so we had that experience, and I said it was really amazing, all the things that happened to all the 4Fs. We still made our confirmation.
But I do remember him saying, Incate.
Yeah. Incate, 4F. I remember.
Yeah. You mentioned Pete Luque Sr., Pete Jr.'s father. He was also quite a person, ¿verdad?
Yeah, well, he was involved in a lot of organizations, the Lions Club, the Socialistas.
He was president of the Lions Club back in 52.
Yeah, and
he
then...
was the first Mexican that was president, belonged to the Lions Club, and was president of the Lions Club.
He was always going to different clubs and different meetings and stuff like that, and with Manuel Padilla and some other people that I didn't know. But he was always involved, and he was one of the first ones to start working at the cement plant. So my father got to work at the cement plant because of my uncle. So, but he was involved and always telling us to run for Queens. I said, no, I don't want to go sell tickets.
You didn't run for Queens?
No, I didn't want to. My sister Clara did, but I didn't.
And Clara was the baby of the family.
Yeah, the baby of the family.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you remember what year she ran?
Oh, let's see.
Must have been 60, you know?
Yeah, well, I'm 7 years older than Clara, so she's about 73 right now.
Yeah. It was in the 60s, 62.
Yeah, the 60s since when, So.
Well, getting back to Pete, he was very active with Manuel Padilla and Tony Garcia and Angel Oliva.
Oh, yeah, the Olivas.
And with Pascual Oliva. Very community-oriented, trying to people to run for office. Try to get people to participate in Fiestas Patrias.
Oh, yeah.
And so anyway, he worked at the cement plant. When did he start running for office, or how did he get appointed to be a councilman?
I think it was when somebody was going to finish and didn't want to run again or something. It's when he got to go in there. I don't remember if it was in the 50s or 50s.
Yeah, I think Johnny Martinez, Jeremias, the boxer, had been a councilman for 3 years, from 48 to 51 or so. And then he didn't want to finish his term, so he recommended that Pete be appointed the council, on the council, and Pete accepted. And then from then on, he was quite active in Colton business, ¿verdad?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was always involved in something or other, always in meetings, I remember.
And even now they named a center at Veterans Park after him, the Pete Luque Senior Center.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, how was he related to you?
He married my Aunt Ermelinda, my father's sister.
Okay.
So, because like I said, my tia Ermelinda, my tio Pete, they got married, and then Jess Luque married my tia Lola, who's my father's sister, and then my tia Chepa married Jesus, my father's brother. So 3 Luques married 3 Hernandez.
Oh, that's how it happened.
Yeah.
That's how you were related.
Yeah.
That's how you were related. Y te iba a preguntar, how did you meet your husband?
Oh, my husband, I met him at a party,
Mm-hmm.
and he was ready to go into the service when I
Okay.
met him, so he went into the service.
And what year was that, Esther?
51, 52, I don't remember exactly when he went into the service. But he was a military man, served 33 years in the military.
So it was a career for him.
Career, yeah, he
Yeah.
was in the reserves, after he got out, he was in the reserves, and he was always going TDY someplace, to Germany, to Puerto Rico, and he went for the Panama invasion. He was one of the interrogators in the Panama invasion,
Mm-hmm.
so.
And then prior to meeting your husband, you said that the dances were just great.
Oh, great, the big bandera is beautiful.
Tell us about the big band era, and the bands that came to our
Oh,
area.
they came to Urbita Ballroom, later called Valley Ballroom, and then the Swing Auditorium in downtown San Bernardino. That's where they held all this. I saw the big bands there. Harry James, Duke Ellington,
Swing
Les Brown.
Auditorium is now where the library is in San
Yeah,
Bernardino.
yeah, the
Okay.
libraries. Swing
And
Auditorium.
Urbita, where was Urbita?
Urbita was where the Inland Center is,
Okay.
and later was called Valley Ballroom, but it was Urbita when I went there.
And the bands were, which bands were they?
Oh, Harry James, Dean Krupa, every big band name I saw when I was young, and they only charged about $2, $3 to go in.
Uh-huh.
So it was pretty good.
So you had a wonderful
Oh,
time
yeah,
doing
swing.
the big bands.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And you were a good swing dancer.
Oh, I loved swing dancing when I was young, and I never danced after I got married.
So after you met your husband, got married, and he was in service,
Mhm.
and did you have any children?
Yeah, I had 4 children, Gloria, Arthur, Regina, and Eric.
Uh-huh.
Gloria died in 2011, and Arthur died in 2013. And Regina, just the one that I have here, because my son Eric has been in prison for many years.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. I was going to ask you, getting back to the dancing and the
Mhm.
big bands, who were your partners your girl partners that went to those dances with you?
My cousin Rosa, my tia
Rosa is
Dolores.
married to Tommy?
Yeah, Tommy
Okay.
Castorena. And my sisters, cousins, we all went to the dances.
So they were good times.
Oh, yeah, good times, yeah. I
Well-
went with my aunts, my cousins, and friends that could go. Sometimes they let them go, sometimes they didn't, so it was.
And who would drive there?
We would go on the bus
You're kidding.
or on the taxi. Yeah, because my cousin Maria, she worked making tortillas, so she had more money, so sometimes we went on the taxi.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Taxi from Colton to Urbita?
Or to Swing, yeah.
You guys were adventurous.
Oh, yeah.
You guys were
Yeah.
adventurous. Yeah.
We
¿Qué
had
te
a
iba a
good time.
preguntar? You mentioned Tommy Castorena,
Mhm,
the Castorena family.
mhm.
And you mentioned that your dad was a good ball player?
Oh, yeah, I think he came out in the Colton annual 1925, 1926, and it mentions him and the Castorenas that used to play for Colton High.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so my dad came out in he was a good pitcher, so they have a little write-up on him during that time.
So he played for Colton High School?
Yeah, he played for Colton High School, and then when he got married to my mother, he used to play in Orange County, in La Habra. He used to play for the Juvenil, where Chuy Flores was one of the ones that went into the big leagues. They played all together with my tío Rufino Gonzalez and my uncle John Guzman. They all used to play in the juveniles.
So they were very
Active in playing baseball.
baseball.
Mhm.
Was that on Sundays?
Saturdays or Sundays they used to
Uh-huh,
play, yeah.
uh-huh.
Before there's a big write-up in Orange County about the Chuy Flores that he used to go pick oranges, and my dad was a lemon and orange picker. They were most of the ones that played in the leagues. So,
Did you see them play?
yeah,
Where?
I was a little girl in La Habra. La Habra. Yeah. But he didn't make it into the big leagues because he just...
It's interesting that you mentioned that the citrus pickers.
They were mostly the ones that were involved playing ball.
I'll be darned.
Mhm.
I'll be darned.
And I don't know, that's why I mentioned that book that's out there that says the baseball players of Orange County. I don't know if it has anything to do with Chuy Flores, because I have a big write-up on Chuy Flores and the people that worked, that played ball during that time with him.
We'll check it out.
Yeah. Because I have a big page from La Habra News that they wrote up.
And you mentioned that your dad had a collection of uniforms. And
No, not my dad, my husband. He had a team in the 60s, late 60s. And Arthur donated, or I don't know if he donated or gave it to Graciano to put down because
Graciano Gomez of
Graciano
newspapers.
Gomez. Yeah, because my husband had a team during that time, and they said that they wanted to know if there were any Mexicans playing in teams. And my husband had a team, but I don't know if they were the Athletics or something. I don't remember the name. He had a banner and the roster for the people that played, and the Anglos and blacks and Mexicans played in his team. So I don't know. I never was involved with that part, but he had a team in San Bernardino.
So he was very active with his team then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talking about baseball, did you ever go to the Caldera swimming pool?
Oh yeah. When we couldn't go down that way during the, we wanted to go on a Sunday or Saturday. We used to go to Calderas to the plunge.
Mm-hmm. And that was close to the house, right?
Oh yeah, close in 5th Street.
5th and Fog or someplace.
Yeah. The reason we used to go to the plunge because all the boys went to the Cuadrito and all the sequia and all that stuff to go swimming, and we went a couple of times, but we screamed because there was a lot of lizards. So then we wanted to go to the plunge instead. So.
El Cuadrito, that's where all the guys went?
Yeah. I don't know, was a little square someplace in, what do they call it?
Los Coninos.
Los Coninos.
Conino Beach.
Yeah.
So you went to Conino Beach and te asustaron.
Oh yeah, the lizards, there were a lot of lizards, so we were afraid of the lizards. So we jumped out of there.
So that was that.
Mm-hmm.
That was that.
Yeah.
Did you see any of the baseballs that were played in Caldera Hall?
No, not there, just to the Mercury's. We used to go, because my Uncle Pete was an announcer at the Mercury's, and we used to go, when they played ball, we used to go.
Oh, that's
to
right.
To the park.
Pete Luque Sr. was the announcer for the baseball games.
Yeah, Mercury's, and then my Uncle Tony played for the Mercury's too later on, so, yeah.
That was Tony
Hernandez.
Mm-hmm. So he's also a Colton High School
Oh,
graduate.
yeah. My Uncle Tony was a good baseball. He was the only one that had 4 stripes on his thing because he was good at all the sports he played.
Very good.
Because I remember all the girls, we took the sweaters for our cousins or our brothers, and I took my Uncle Tony's, and he's the only one that had 4 stripes.
For Letterman's.
Yeah, Letterman sweaters, yeah.
4 stripe was what, Frank? 4-year Letterman?
No, it was 4 sports.
4 sports that he measured in, and he played football, baseball, basketball, and track.
So it was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, your little brother John was also very gymnastic. ¿Cómo se llama? Your little brother, I forgot his name, your little cousin.
Which one?
He just lost his wife.
Oh, Raymond, my brother. Raymond, my brother, yeah.
He was good also in sports.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and his son, Raymond Jr., used to play football for Colton High. He was really good until he got sick, so. But it was pretty good in
So, Esther,
baseball.
you were busy.
Oh, yeah.
You lived on 7th Street. You went dancing with the big bands. You went.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun.
You picked all kinds of fruit.
Oh, yeah.
You
got a lot of experience.
You went to Los Coninos.
Yeah. So.
You were popular in high school.
Well, not in high school, in junior high. High school, we got lost with all the, there was a lot of Anglos that had all the clubs and stuff. We only belonged to the Pan American Club.
Well, tell me about the Pan American Club.
Well, we had our meetings, and we put on a show, dancing or whatever we did.
Who was your sponsor?
I think Miss Pesquera.
The Spanish teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the only club I belonged to in high school. But I was a good shorthand writer. I was the best one in school.
Were you?
Oh, yeah. I got awards, and I still have them for writing 120 words a minute in grade shorthand. And I devised my own Spanish shorthand. I can write shorthand. When I'm sitting down watching TV, I'm writing in Spanish the shorthand, just so I won't forget.
And Esther, you're doing a history of your family.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that.
Oh, I'm writing about my family because I saw the similarity between my mother's family and my grandmother's family. They all were entrepreneurs, and they came and they established their own stores, their own things, and I want to know. I want my children to know about their background, where they came from, and all the things that happened, and why they did this, and why they did something else, and why they became successful in the first place. Because they were very hardworking. And I'm writing both the Guzman family and the Hernandez family.
How far are you along on your project?
Almost through. But,
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, almost through.
You've gathered pictures to go with the story? That's great.
Yeah, I'm putting pictures, and like I was telling Lily, that I remember the day I was born, so I wrote a little thing on the day I was born, what I felt when I was being born and stuff, and Arthur said I was crazy because nobody knows that.
Well, you experience.
I experienced
being in
something.
the womb. Tell us about
Yeah.
that.
Well, I experienced myself, I don't know, I remember that I was in this dark place, and I don't know if it was a dream or it was something I remembered, I don't know. I remember I was in this dark place, and I used to hear noises all the time, and move around, and just like I was in a dream. And then I felt one time that I was being pushed little by little out, and then I felt on the top of my head, I felt cold. And I guess that's when I was born. And I remember falling into the arms of this lady, which was a midwife that was helping my mother deliver me in the bedroom. And I remember this old lady, and I don't know if she was Dominican or if she was black, because she had curly hair, and she was dark and had big earrings, and she had an apron that was little chilies on it, and she smelled like smoke. And she cut my umbilical cord, wrapped me up in a pink blanket, gave it to my mother. And I remember all the surroundings in the room. I remember the bed and the bedspread being folded on one side, my mother under the sheets. And I remember my great-grandmother, my grandmother, and somebody else, Flora, one of my mother's friends. They were all in the room when I was born. And I remember the chest of drawers, the little jar with peacock feathers, little knickknacks that my mother had, like a little chicken with that she put little trinkets in. I remember all those things, and I don't know. And I remember being born in the blue house that belonged to my great-grandmother, my abuela, because there were 6 houses on the lot, and my father and mother lived on the blue house. And I remember being born there in the blue house. But I don't know if it's just a dream or if it's something that I experienced. I don't know, but I remember every detail in there.
Well, there's some evidence that especially girls can preserve memories from their very early childhood. I know that my sister has surprised my father with being able to describe in detail places that he never would have expected her to remember.
Yeah.
And I've read that women, girls,
Well, those are my memories, and I also had a memory in the same house, which is not very well, to tell about it, because I was about 8 or 9 months little girl, and my father was drunk, and he came, and my mother was going to leave him because they had an argument, and he got mad, so he got a knife, and he told my mother he was going to stab me. And I remember my grandfather, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, my Uncle John, and my uncle, and I don't know because I was born after my uncle Isaías, and I saw him with his little pecheritas and a little sweater with stripes on it, and they were trying to take me away from my dad, and my father wouldn't let me go, so then my mother got a azucarera from the table and threw it at him and hit him right here, so he staggered and threw the knife, and my uncle Isaías was biting my dad on the leg. And then they took me, and I have those memories, and I don't know how I would remember that because I wasn't there. I wasn't old enough to remember all that, but I do remember a lot of things.
I'll be darned.
I have a lot of stories to write, from La Habra.
Well, I'm delighted that you started.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talk about